What's up? Welcome in. You're watching and listening to the 49ers Report coming at you live on Callin after the fact on YouTube. Appreciate all of you for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. We continue to grow like crazy right here on the 49ers Report on YouTube. We're approaching 60,000 subs as we're less than 700 people away from reaching that milestone. We also put exclusive videos on Rumble as well, and we've been able to grow our platform there too. And also, we've been going live on Callin once a week. It's a live interactive podcasting app that is very similar to Twitter Spaces, but even better, where you're able to hop into the caller queue like a sports talk radio show, and I'm able to answer all of your questions. So on today's show, going to answer anything that you have for me relating to the Niners here in 2022. It can be about free agency, maybe some players who they could go out and sign. It can be about their draft class. It can be about Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa. Whatever you have for me, hop into the caller queue. I'll start answering your calls right now. And we begin with Draco. Make sure you unmute yourself. I'm going to make you the first caller on today's show. Ask away, my man, tuned in from Las Vegas. How are you?
I'm straight. Can you hear me?
I can. What's up, man?
Very cool, because I'm at work right now, and it's over by, like, the EDC, and, yeah, I don't even know what EDC is, but everybody else do.
Hey, it's all good. What's up, man? What do you got?
Yeah, I feel like everybody, people get bored, and they just, Trey, he a hot topic, they off Debo. They say, hell, let's talk about Trey now, since they all focused on him. So, people get bored. Social media, people's job is to talk, and they gonna say whatever they gotta say to rather people feathers just to, get their little whatever they needed. You feel me? So I honestly feel like Trey's all good. They all right. Ain't nobody on the 49ers worried about Trey because people gonna do what they do, and that's talk.
You make some good points. We're sitting here May 22nd as we're live on Callin, and for those of you listening and watching after the fact on YouTube, greatly appreciate it. But we're at May 22nd right now in the offseason, right? And we are in a dead part of the offseason, and people are reaching for storylines. They're reaching for narratives. They're reaching for things to talk about because training camp hasn't yet gotten underway. OTAs for the 49ers coming your way this upcoming week as offseason activities start to progress. And it's a lazy point in the offseason where it's like, okay, what can we talk about now? Which big fan bases can we cater to get some really good ratings and get some really good clicks and really good views? And Trey Lance is one of the most polarizing topics to talk about. Why? Because it's one of the big unknowns in the National Football League. The Niners as a roster, they're in a spot right now where I think they're one of the most stacked teams in the NFL because you look at the roster and you canvass it on offense. You have the best left tackle in the game in Trent Williams. You have one of the best tight ends in the league in George Kittle. Deebo Samuel had one of the best offensive all-around seasons that we've ever seen over the course of NFL history. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is set for a breakout season. You have Kyle Shanahan calling the plays. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL and certainly one of the best young offensive masterminds in the league. Defensively, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner, Jimmy Ward. The roster is set outside of the biggest position in all of sports, and that's the quarterback position. And people want to drum up these storylines and find things to talk about. And what's funny is that Trey Lance played 2 games last year, and people are acting as though he's a surefire product. Now, of course, I've been very complimentary of Trey Lance. There's no doubt about that. But I've looked back and I've watched every single snap that he took last year, and what I'm basing his future and his potential off of is the skill set that he brings to the table and the unique ability that he has. Now, could Trey Lance end up being a bust? For sure. But when I evaluate quarterback prospects, I'm looking for what Trey Lance has. What is that? That's leadership qualities. That's him having the desire to be the face of the franchise, him having that character, him having the size at 6'4", 225 with arm strength as well as mobility, which I think is important in today's NFL. And I'm projecting what he can be, whereas other people are saying, yeah, this guy is going to be a bust. So I agree with you that people are kind of just throwing darts on a dartboard right now. Draco, you got anything else for me?
Yeah, I also have one to say that honestly, I'm just waiting to see some more of who make the team and who don't, because we brought in a lot of rookies, so I'm eager to see Who eager to take somebody else's position, basically? Who trying to be the top dog? Because we got a great team. We can be even greater.
I agree. Yeah. So if you're looking at rookies to kind of take a nice little long step this year and impress a lot of people, I think Drake Jackson, just because he's playing on the other side of Nick Bosa, is going to have ample opportunities to really make an imprint on this upcoming season. He has all of the ability to be a special player in this league. When you look back at what he did at USC, the sack production numbers certainly weren't there. He had something like 5 sacks last year at USC. And you're like, okay, how does a guy who is as big and as athletic as Drake Jackson only have that amount of sacks? Does it come down to him being raw? And if that's the case, are you concerned about him actually being a good NFL player? I think he has the ability. I just think he needs to be coached up. And I think at USC, he wasn't used properly in that defensive scheme. I went back and watched some of the clips and some of the tape of his season last year at USC, and schematically, they didn't really put him in positions to really succeed and maximize his abilities. And I think now that he's with a really good defense on a really good defensive line that's able to rotate guys in and out of the lineup to keep defensive linemen fresh, a defensive line that last year was one of the best in the NFL, and that is 2 or 3 deep along every spot on that defensive line. And he's pairing up with arguably the best defensive line coach in the NFL in Chris Kocurek, who has done a masterful job, and I mean just a masterful job, of developing defensive line talent and maximizing their abilities to the point where they end up having career years and having just really successful careers in general. I think that Drake Jackson can be a guy who can make an immediate impact in year one. I think a guy like Ty Davis-Price, when you're a running back, yeah, Trey Sermon didn't really play a lot last year, but when you're a running back, it's not like you have to master the playbook. You have the football put in your belly, and you just got to pick up some yards, man. You got to find a way to make it work, and it's not like you have to dive into the playbook to really master things in that way. I think Ty Davis-Price can make an impact year one because he has an ability to really just run guys over and be that physical running back that the Niners really haven't had over the last couple of years. I think he can make an impact year one. I think Sam Womack, if he's able to play slot corner, he had 46 pass breakups in 51 career games last year at Toledo, one of the best marks in college football. I think that him in the slot, he can make some plays year one, just like what Ambry Thomas was able to do last year as well. So those are a couple of the rookies that I'm looking at to really have a good year in 2022. Next up in the caller queue is Brett, going to make you the next caller. Make sure you unmute yourself and ask away.
Hey, Chase, how are you today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, man. Wondering what you think the first domino is going to be. You got Baker out there. You got Jimmy. How's this quarterback carousel going to finish up the offseason headed into the season? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating question, Brett, because there really aren't any teams in need of a quarterback right now. You look at the Seattle Seahawks, it looks as though they're going to move forward with Drew Lock. You look at the Carolina Panthers, and is Matt Corral going to be ready to be the starting quarterback year one, or is it going to be Sam Darnold? I don't know how you move forward with Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback, considering the long sample size that we've seen from Darnold as a starting quarterback in this league last year with the Panthers and with the New York Jets. I don't think he has it. And my big concern with Matt Corral, I didn't think that he was ready to play in year one because I think playing in Lane Kiffin's offense, a lot of the reads are predetermined. And if you're a rookie coming from an offense where those reads are predetermined and you're not ready to master the complexities of an NFL offense or going up against the complexities of an NFL defense, you're going to be picked apart really early. And the worst thing that can happen for a young rookie quarterback is for you to lose your confidence, and you don't want that to happen right from the get-go as a rookie, especially with one of your high draft picks in Matt Corral. So Seattle, Carolina, really the only two teams in need of a starting quarterback. Now, I think it'd make a lot of sense for Carolina to target a Jimmy Garoppolo or target a Baker Mayfield. I think the problem that Carolina is running into, ideally, they would like to add veteran quarterback help in a Baker or in a Jimmy Garoppolo. Problem is Baker is due about $18 million this year because he was the number 1 overall pick coming out of Oklahoma. And then Jimmy Garoppolo has that salary cap number of nearly $27 million. And Sam Darnold is already made. So Carolina might need to find a way to free up some dollars in order to add veteran quarterback help, especially if it is Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think that has to happen first in order for those next dominoes to fall for a Jimmy Garoppolo trade to potentially happen. Another thing that could lead to a Garoppolo trade happening is if an injury happens at the quarterback spot over the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months. If an injury happens to a starting quarterback, then I think other teams might reach out to the 49ers and ask and inquire about the services of Garoppolo. There's also this with the Garoppolo thing, and we've talked about it plenty here, the injury, the shoulder surgery that he got. He's not going to be able to throw until July, and I think that's a big concern for teams because he already doesn't have elite arm strength. This is a quarterback who's been injured a lot throughout his NFL career, and now he has yet another injury on his throwing shoulder, and teams want to see that he can throw the football effectively. And if he can't, then why trade for a guy who's making that much money and really will have a dent on your salary cap if he's not going to be able to contribute, and on top of the fact, he only has a 1-year contract. So if it doesn't work out, that's a pretty big whiff and a lot of money to spend without getting any production at all if that shoulder injury isn't right. So let me know if you think Garoppolo is going to get traded here in the comment section. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Ideally, Garoppolo does get dealt. And if he does get traded, that makes things really interesting for San Francisco because it clears up a lot of money on the salary cap for the Niners to pay Deebo Samuel that contract extension, to pay Nick Bosa as well. And that opens up so much money where the Niners will go from having the least cap space in the NFL to, I think, the second most cap space in the NFL, which is pretty wild. Draco Pimpin in the chat in callin, he said, I hope our third and fourth down stop percentages goes up. That's what we need. So, yeah, no, I agree with you because if you get gashed on third downs, it really does take a lot of life out of the defense. Going to take a couple more callers here on call-in. If you want to hop into the caller queue, do so. Ask away. Offer your best 49ers takes. If we don't get any more calls, then I'm going to step away because I'm at a bachelor party in Phoenix, Arizona, and do have to get back to the bachelor activities, but had to talk Niners here on call-in as well as on YouTube. See Wet Noodle 187 in the chat on call-in as well. Appreciate that. Draco Pimpin has been tuning in to all of our shows, so too as Brian, and I'm going to make him the next caller here on call-in. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy? Hey,
Yo, what's
so
going
you were talking about Garoppolo. I honestly think the Texans is such a good fit with the GM being part of the program that drafted him at Patriots. Do you feel like the main reason why, because honestly, I don't think Mills is that great of a quarterback. I don't think he's going to progress much more than he already has. Do you think part of the reason why is they're kind of just hoping that if he does tank again, that they're in a better position for a higher draft pick for this next round of quarterbacks that should be a lot better?
Yeah, potentially. And you make some good points there, Brian, because Nick Caserio, who's the general manager of the Houston Texans, was actually with the New England Patriots when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo. So there is some familiarity there. And I did mean to talk about the Texans as another destination in addition to the Seattle Seahawks and the Carolina Panthers, because that is another ideal spot. Honestly, if Mac Jones were to go down in New England, I think Bill Belichick would try to pull the trigger for a Garoppolo trade because of the familiarity there, and he knows that Garoppolo would be able to win the Patriots a lot of games, and Bill Belichick is always putting the Patriots in a position to win in the immediacy of the moment. But focusing on the Houston Texans here, I think the money factor for Garoppolo certainly comes into play. I also think that they want to see what Davis Mills can offer them. He actually did some decent things as a rookie last year. Now, if you ask me, I don't think that he's going to be a future franchise quarterback. Do I think that he did some solid things last year as a rookie on a bad football team that I'm not sure was all that well coached and didn't have a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball? Yeah, I don't think that team was good, and I think that Davis Mills did a couple of good things. Now, they re-upped Brandon Cooks. Outside of that, they made some decent additions that I think went under the radar throughout free agency. But when you pick a player like Davis Mills on, I believe, day 2 years ago, you're not paying him anything, whereas Garoppolo, you're paying him a lot. Now, if the Texans think that they're in a position where they can win some games and Davis Mills isn't offering them that and Garoppolo's still on the roster during the year, maybe they try to trade for him in hopes that Garoppolo could be their future quarterback for a couple of more years, and maybe they sign him to a contract extension because of that familiarity there. Yeah, maybe. But also you make a good point too, Brian, because this quarterback class in 2023 is a pretty solid one. C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, Bryce Young, the defending Heisman Trophy winner out of Alabama. The Miami kid is getting a lot of buzz too. So I think teams right now are just playing a patient role, like the Houston Texans especially, where they have this young quarterback who's going into year 2, and they want to see what he can bring to the table. Brian, you got anything else? Nah, he just hopped out of the caller queue. I'm seeing a couple more people who are listening right now and piling in to us here on Callin. If you think the Texans are a good destination for Garoppolo, type 1 for yes or 2 for no. If we don't get any more callers on the show, then I'm going to step aside and get back to the bachelor party. Once again, appreciate everybody for tuning in here on Callin as well as on YouTube. Approaching 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe to us, hit the red subscribe button, youtube.com/49ers TV. And for those of you listening live here on Callin, make sure you subscribe. Moving forward, we're going to be going live about once a week.